What age should we start to educate our children about relationships?
Well, I think it's maybe not even young enough. I think just right from the very beginning. Just first of all, there's no shame in sex. But there is so much information that children can now get, and most children have phones or iPads, that I really want them to be getting the right information rather than warped information. I mean, just the vocabulary that young children have now about every kind of... I mean, some of the things that my child will say to me that I would not have, in a million years, have known the word. And it's all coming in from the internet,
from
which I think is a
primary
brilliant...
school age.
Right, from primary school. I mean, the thing is... What we do is we think of children, we think of sex, and we think that we're somehow taking their innocence away if we talk about sex. But that's looking at it from an adult's perspective. I think when your child starts to ask about things, you should answer. But I think there's some nuts and bolts, facts and figures that children should just know about. I mean, the thing is now, children are starting their period so much younger, 7 and 8 years old. And, you know, there's a lot of research being done on this, that children are getting their periods and scared because they don't know what it is and they don't know what it's for, and they think that they're bleeding to death, and they think there's something wrong with them.
And listen, I love you dearly, as you know. I love you dearly. But I have to disagree with you on a lot of stuff, because I personally think all the publicity about starting sex education at the age of 5 and 4 even, I think let children be children for a while.
But they are big children.
No, but I mean, it's just, why would you want to implant all the... I mean, even now, you said yourself that your children play transgender games. I think to myself, well, why would you want to let them just learn at school? And I do agree that as they get older in primary school and maybe have their periods at 9, as you say, that maybe that's the time to introduce it. However, I'm going to argue with myself now, because I do read information from the Netherlands, and they start their education really, really young.
And Germany.
They say, and Germany. And they actually have the lowest teenage pregnancy rate, whereas we have the highest. So I'm kind of arguing my own mind, but still, if I had a grandchild of 5...
I have got a granddaughter of 5, and there's no way that I think she needs to know about that at that age. I think once they get to...
You're very open with your children, aren't you?
If they ask questions, I'll answer them truthfully all the time. But I think secondary school, when they're going through puberty and when they start getting their mobile phones, and then that's a good age for them to start having these lessons and whatever. But
what about all the children having puberty at 8? And what about the fact that people are giving their children mobile phones and what about the fact that a lot of children grow up in chaotic homes where they might not be getting good and positive information about stuff?
Well,
I think it's just a gap. And obviously, you can do it age appropriate, but if there's a gap in their education, that's where schools can help out with children that aren't necessarily having a safe, well-informed, caring upbringing at home.
But that's where your relationship education comes in, as you were mentioning. And I'm all for that. I mean, to be taught about better relationships or behaviour or whatever.
And respect.
And I do really respect the fact, I mean, in my day, if I can put it like that, the only sex education I had from my mum was, she stopped me one day and said, do they talk to you about women's things in school? And I went, of course they do. That was it. However, our headmaster's wife was really ahead of the game, because we had an anonymous box. And of course, yes, we had played around with that about what we'd write. But we were allowed to write any question we wanted, and this is at grammar school, in the anonymous box, and then she answered every single question, no matter how racy or how naughty it was. But so I really respect the fact that the education has improved. But you see, even your terminology there, you're saying racy and naughty, because we're thinking it from an adult's point of view. No, I'm saying in those days, anonymous questions. But to a child, it's just our body changes in so many different ways, and yet when it comes to anything about sex or anything down there, we all go, ah! And actually, it's our fear. And when you look at other countries that don't have this, and as you yourself said, the teenage pregnancy rate is right down on the floor compared to us. They must be doing something right, but the evidence is clear. Information is power. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you on the information thing, certainly with the girls now. I mean, they're 12 and 10, and they seem to know a lot of stuff about a lot of things, and if they do have their phones, which they do, and they can go on and look at goodness knows what, I'm sure at some stage, you kind of think, well, as long as you know that's what's happening on the internet, I want you to be able to come and talk to me and your parents, and if you're being taught it at school in the right way, where everyone's learning the same thing and it's being talked about. And I remember I was about 10, I think, in primary school when I was first taught about periods and stuff. I remember the class, and it was a big deal, and the boys were giggling, and because they were being taught the same thing.
10 would be too late, because I started mine at 9. It's too late.
That's exactly the problem. And then, as you say, a lot of 9-year-olds could the period starts and suddenly like,
And
what the
they're
heck's
frightened.
going on with my body here? So
It's quite interesting, though, about our attitude to, say, nudity around the house or, whatever way we do. I mean, I think you're quite sort of open, aren't you?
Yeah, I never close my bathroom door because if I get in the bath, someone will knock on the door and want something, so I leave it open. So my kids are forever in and out the whole time. My son Louis, he came in last night. I was in the bath. I mean, I think
how old is Louis?
Louis 25. I think it's important that they see what real women look like.
Yeah, I just think we've got to get out of the way of all these things. I mean, to think that still that people in this country, young girls in this country, can have their period, not know what's going on, be frightened, be worried, think that they've done something wrong, is just shocking. And the figures are high.
yeah.